Hi everyone. Today I wanted to review an episode of my favorite cartoon show, The Amazing World of Gumball. This is the episode 24 of season 5 called The Diet. So let's take a look together. The episode begins with Gumball's father confused in front of the refrigerator. At that moment, the two boys appear and ask their father what's going on, and apparently, their father is looking for the salad, but he can't even pronounce it. Those familiar with the series know that Richard has always been seen as a lazy character, whose only important thing is food, so seeing him searching for salad was at least unexpected. After finding the salad, we see that he serves only one leaf of it, and the reason for this is that he is on a diet. Up to this point, it implies that Richard thinks that being on a diet means eating less, and this is something that can be brought into real life. Many people think that to lose weight, it is necessary to eat less. To some extent, this is true, but there are smarter ways to do it, and one of them is to prioritize denser and less caloric foods. For example, with the calories from a certain hamburger from a certain fast food line, you can easily eat 3 meals a day. You stay satisfied and don't have to deal with the stress caused by hunger. Eating healthy doesn't necessarily mean eating less. Continuing with the episode, we see that the reason Richard eats smaller portions is that he read a book that said eating on small plates means eating less, but clearly, Richard misunderstood everything. I believe this goes back to the previously mentioned point. Eating healthy doesn't mean eating less food, but rather fewer calories. People who eat less often end up eating more. The stress caused by hunger makes them eat more often, but because they eat in small portions, it seems like they haven't eaten much, when in fact, they have eaten much more than they should. Some time passes, and we see that clearly, the diet is not working, and the reason is quite obvious. After ordering food, we see that Richard can't go without eating, and when Darwin tries to say something, his argument is that chewing burns calories. Richard continues to delude himself more and more that his methods are working, which clearly they are not. Gumball and Darwin offer to help their father do things the right way, even though they know nothing about dieting, and their argument is that the internet exists, so they don't need to know anything. I don't need to say how wrong that is. The first step would be to make Richard reveal all the places where he hides food. He tries to change the subject, but he can't. This may mean that Richard knew he was doing things wrong, and that was a way to try to divert the attention of Gumball and Darwin. This may have been a way to refuse help from his children, but they were very determined to help their father. They find food in various unusual places, and their solution was simply to lock their father in a place where he can't eat. They treat their father as if he were a drug addict, and food was the drug. Richard has shown in several other episodes that he has a form of emotional dependence on food. So simply taking away his access to his drug, so to speak, will only make things worse. Imagine a vape addict or something similar. How do you think he would react if suddenly someone locked him in a place where he couldn't smoke anymore? It's easy to imagine what would happen. The inevitable happened, and Richard escaped from his cell and went straight to the refrigerator, as predicted. Realizing this, Gumball and Darwin had the idea of using it against their father, which would be to use food to make him exercise. After some time, they replaced the usual food with less caloric food. This brings me back to the point I mentioned at the beginning of the analysis. When Gumball and Darwin finished the job, they realized that their father is still in the mood for exercise. This means that, in fact, Richard was somewhat enjoying it. At first, convincing him to exercise seemed crazy, but all it took was finding a way that was pleasing to him and simply starting to do it. Maybe that's what you need in your life. You certainly have things you would like to do but don't. Perhaps what you need is simply to start doing it. A method I like is to do the activity for only 5 minutes. If I still don't want to, I stop. But I probably won't want to stop. After all, now what I'll want is to finish. The next day, Richard woke up with an impressive shape, and he seems to be somewhat arrogant. Many people have goals whose motivations are simply to rub their success in the faces of others. I don't know if that's wrong or not, but I wouldn't do it. Richard goes to the mall, and to locate him, his children use his profile picture. He just doesn't stop changing it and makes it look like he's in wonderful places, while clearly, he's not. The famous life of appearances. While at the mall, he continues to be arrogant, and he makes any situation, no matter how simple it seems, become embarrassing. He now thinks he's the center of attention and that the world revolves around him. Again, being arrogant. However, there comes a point where his arrogance interferes with others' lives. He simply stole the tires from an ambulance. This is clearly very wrong. Disturbing others' lives just to show off is very annoying to do. If you think you're the center of attention, that's your problem. But wanting others to think the same is very wrong. What would be worse than disturbing an ambulance? Disturbing the firefighters. He simply took the hose and started posing with it. This prevented the firefighters from extinguishing the house fire. Just as Richard didn't care if there was anyone inside the ambulance, he doesn't care if there's anyone inside the house. All that mattered to him was showing off his muscles, his achievements. The police tried to do something, but it only made the situation worse. For them, because for Richard, it was getting better and better. Luckily, his children eventually arrived and convinced him to stop. How, you ask? They reminded him of what was more important to him, which in this case was food. In other words, for Richard, food was even more important than his own family. This again shows emotional dependence on his part. The fire is extinguished, and so ends the episode. This episode is another reason why I love this animated show so much. The way they turn serious subjects into entertainment is worthy of an Oscar. This is the end of another video. If you liked it, leave a like. If not, tell me the reason in the comments. The channel is new, so any help is welcome. Thanks for everything, and until next time.